my brand new shirt.
Would you consider yourself a neo-Nazi?
I would not. I'd consider myself a white nationalist, and I would consider myself a member of the alt-right.
And what does that mean to you?
White nationalist, I want a homeland for white people, and I think every race should have a homeland for their own race.
So do you agree that with the guy who organizes Jason Kessler, that America should be 80 to 85% white?
Yes.
And why?
I think there's a demographic decline going on, not only here but in Europe, and we need some place that can be a white homeland, or we will be spread out.
And how old are you?
18.
Do your parents agree with you?
No, not at all. My mother is a union teacher, and my father is a blue-collar worker. No, they don't agree with me at all.
How do they feel about your
My mom and my father both heavily discouraged it. I think all of our parents did, actually.
Following your parents' beliefs just because they're older than you and they raised you, it doesn't mean it's not a good idea. You should believe for yourself. You should look into things for yourself and then decide what you want. Where did my family come from? Both grandparents on my side, immediate grandparents, are Italian immigrants.
We came together for this rally. So I would say that I might disagree with their optics or their appearance or whatever they have.
Just declared it an unlawful assembly.
I have to go.
Emotional all day long. It was a really long day. It was really hot, and then that DACA announcement came out, and we just have to keep fighting though.
Replace us. You will not replace us. You will not replace us.
It's a nice statue. Tell them it's a beautiful stone.
I will tell it to the flames.
Yeah, tell them to the flames when you explain it.
Because they're already saying that.
You're scared of the Muslims. Why are you scared of the Muslims? I'm fucking terrified.
Here in Charlottesville.
I've never seen so much hatred in the eyes of my fellow human beings in my life. We are in very deep trouble. This country is in deep fascist moment. And it's a neo-fascism that is much broadly spread than it was before. I'm against hatred. And so when I hear the anarchist brothers and sisters talk about scum, I don't like that language. But they're responding to a hatred that is so vicious, and they're not running anything, and they're not tied to anything. You know that.
The goal of one side is domination, oppression, and separation. The goal of the other side is more democracy, is acceptance, is tolerance. I don't like the way they're expressing that because it comes out as hatred, but you have to differentiate between the two sides because of the goals. The goal of one side is oppression, the goal of the other side is freedom. Even though we might not agree with their tactics, you have to differentiate between the two.
The modern world. Chauvinist doesn't mean sexist. Chauvinist means extremely patriotic.
Things that will save America: give everyone a gun, venerate the housewife, recognize the West is the best, shut down the government.
Like President Trump, political correctness is just another word for censorship, and pay gap's a myth. Islam is not a very good ideology, and we're allowed to criticize it.
Being a man is almost frowned upon.
We're all different races and even sexual orientations. I mean, Maurice right here is gay.
Violence can solve problems. Yeah, fighting solves everything. They're playing into a long line of what would be normally called white nationalism.
The soy boy fucking generation has overtaken, and there is no alpha. The alpha is diminished.
So I wouldn't call it a war between the sexes. There's a war by men on women.
Just asking for trouble. I don't really give you
Most guys my age are just basically interested in sitting at home, masturbating, eating Cheerios, and playing video games, smoking weed, trying to avoid responsibility and all that. I think that most of the problems we have in the country are because men aren't stepping up and doing the things that come from
The movies are about the good guys and the bad guys. People like a relief from the complexity of the world. It's fine if it's entertainment, but if it's a political stance, then it gets dangerous. Do you see what I mean? That is appealing to a very primitive part of human nature, which is reflected in narcissistic pathology. But it's very scary because it has an appeal. A lot of people like to, what I call, regress to simplicity. Life is complex. The world is complex. We are complex. The people we interact with are complex. It gets hard to grapple with all that complexity. Hey, people get gratification out of being aggressive, sadistic, and destructive, but it's part of life and we'd better be aware of it. Some people with that core sense of emptiness and hollowness react in a way to bolster and strengthen their sense of self by being mean. That's satisfying, that's pleasurable, that fills the void, that makes the self feel good when it wouldn't feel good to begin with. People like a relief from the complexity of the world. It's fine if it's entertainment, but if it's a political stance, then it gets dangerous. Do you see what I mean? In integrating as opposed to splitting, by splitting I mean just seeing the other as different and bad.